Uh, This is a call to order. Good morning, members of the MAG Transportation Safety Committee. The meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making comments or asking questions. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on the full or on the items of jurisdiction. If you'd like to comment on today's meeting, please fill out a request to speak card located on the counter to my right up here as you enter the room, or hand it to staff. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are also available on the counter. Righty. If you purchase a transit ticket to attend the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. Mohammed, could you go ahead and do that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member of the Transportation Safety Committee. Please indicate your presence when I call your name. Shane Queso from City of Apache Junction.
Present.
Sergeant Craig Martin from Arizona Department of Public Safety. Larry Talley as proxy for Kerry Wilcoxon from Arizona Department of Transportation.
Present.
Thank you. Russ Totem from City of Avondale. Frank Ganani from City of Buckeye. Raymond Huang from City of Chandler.
Here, good morning.
Nick Russo from City of El Mirage.
This is Nick. Good morning.
Thank you. Glenn Robinson from FHWA.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Christopher Salas from Town of Florence.
Present.
Aaron Pinkerton from Town of Gilbert.
Present.
Tony Abbo from City of Glendale.
Good morning, and I'm present.
Eric Sisek as proxy for Hugh Biak from City of Goodyear.
Present.
Jesse Torres from Governor's Office of Highway Safety. Kate Drunaski from City of Litchfield Park. Scott Notes as proxy for Kerry Osborne from City of Maricopa.
Good morning, present.
Thank you. Mazen Muradovich from Maricopa County Department of Transportation. Stephen Bach from City of Mesa. Brandon Furry from City of Peoria. Carl Langford from City of Phoenix.
Good morning, everyone. Present.
Tara Harmon from Pinal County Public Works.
Morning, everyone. I'm present.
Janet Martin from Town of Queen Creek.
Good morning. I'm here.
Sam Taylor from City of Scottsdale.
Present.
Jonathan Fuch as proxy for Dana Ozioni from City of Surprise.
Present.
Michelle Beckley from City of Tempe.
Present.
Alice Aran from University of Arizona. Adrian Ruiz from Valley Metro. Are there anyone that I have missed? Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call and we do have quorum. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. We do have quorum. Our next item is the call to the audience. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under the MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for call to the audience agenda item unless the chair requests an exception to that limit. I don't believe we have any cards. Can you please confirm, Mohammed? Okay. We do not have.
Yeah.
MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via MAG's website. On June 9th, 2023, changes were made to the process for accepting and sharing written comments from members of the public not attending in person. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. I do not believe we have received any comments, correct? Okay, thank you. Since this is an information item, we will go ahead and proceed to item number 3. The program manager's report. In the interest of time and to ensure we accommodate project presentations and questions toward a timely adjournment, we will defer this item to the May regularly scheduled meeting. Please contact Ms. Herrera after the meeting if you have any questions on the MAG safety program, projects or initiative of interest. The next one is item number 4, and that's approval of the minutes for the Transportation Safety Committee meeting held on March 26, 2024. Does any member of the Transportation Safety Committee have any comments or revisions to the March 26, 2024 meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none. I have received I believe no speaker cards, right, for the approval of the minutes. Okay. Given that, staff, have we received any online written comments for the meeting minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any written comments for the minutes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 26, 2024 Transportation Safety Committee meeting?
Shane with Apache Junction, I move for the passage of the March 26, 24 Safety Committee meeting minutes as written.
Okay, thank you, Shane. Do we have a second?
It's the same Taylor, City Scottsdale, seconded.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion from Shane Kiso and a second from Sam Taylor. We will have those participating in the meeting online now take part of the voice vote, turning on their camera and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. This is to speed up the voting process. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their camera, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your camera on until after the vote is recorded so that we can count the people's name whose cameras are on or not on, sorry. Can I have a voice vote of those that are in the room and online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay. Mohammed, can you take a roll call of members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a roll call vote for the members not opting to turning on their cameras. Raj Thoram from City of Avondale. Thank you. Jonathan Futch as proxy for Dana Oziani from City of Surprise.
Abstain.
Thank you. And that concludes the roll call, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Therefore, we are approving the agenda and we'll move on to, the minutes. We'll move on to item number 5, fiscal year 2025, 2027, 2028 Highway Safety Improvement Program. Item number 5 will be presented by MAG Transportation Safety and Operations Program Manager, Margaret Herrera. Ms. Herrera will facilitate the project presentation by member agency staff representing requesting HSIP fund for FY 2025, 2027, and 2028. This item is on the agenda for information, discussion, and action.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Safety Committee. Welcome on this special meeting in April. Back in January, we coordinated a call for projects for Highway Safety Improvement Program projects that was open on January 24th. We are due to submit those on May 3rd, so we have a little bit of time to make some adjustments to those. For fiscal year 27 and 28, the federal amount available is 32.7 million. And 56.1 million respectively. We did receive 15 applications from 11 member agencies, and the total federal amount requested was a little over $30 million. Next slide, please. So as you can see, I guess it's a little bit hard to read, but I was encouraged to see that we did get so many applications. We did have 17, but at some point, one of the agencies decided to pull their applications. But it is encouraging to see, number one, the amount of applications that we received, as well as you can see, the benefit cost ratios are all well over 2.5 to 1. So things look really good there. Next slide, please. Yes, there you go. I guess I do want to make one correction. Can you go back, Mohammed? I apologize. So I was alerted this morning, or really last night, from Tempe that the version that's in the agenda, the benefit cost ratio was incorrect. In that, I did correct it for the presentation here today. And then we'll want to make sure that when we do go to submit these on May 3rd, that everything is in order and that we correct everything from the application to get that into ADOT. The important thing today, because this is an action item and we'll be taking this to Transportation Review Committee on Thursday, and then it'll be going to the policy committees in May for those projects to be placed into the TIP. And that's a requirement for those projects to move forward to the scoping phase. So it's really important that we have at least the scoping phase amounts correct as we move forward at this time. All right, next slide. Thank you. So we're going to be doing project presentations. You'll have 5 minutes for each one of your projects. That does not include questions. So we have a little bit of time for all of you. We're going to be going just in alphabetical order today. So Apache Junction, winner, winner. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I invite Shane Kiso to provide a presentation on his project.
Thank you, Margaret, and hello, everybody. Shane Kiso, Public Works Manager with the City of Apache Junction. So we did submit one application for this, and it is a scope and design and install flashing yellow arrows. So move on to the next slide. So Apache Junction, we are, of course, east of the metropolitan area of Phoenix. Consider ourselves sort of a doorway into the Phoenix area. Most of our city is in Pinal County, but a portion is in Maricopa County. And we say citywide, but it's mainly along our Ironwood corridor through the main length of our city. and Ironwood. And we'll talk about what makes Ironwood significant for us. It includes traffic signal locations along that corridor. As I mentioned, scope design and install, reviewing our left turns phasing at all these signal intersections. We do have a variety of left turn types of phasing at those intersections. We do have a high amount of left turn and angle crashes, so that's what really spotted us or cued us in to put in this application or moving this application forward. And then hopefully part of this scope study too is just learning again, learning some elements, best practices of left turn phasing that we have, maybe that we should have, with ultimate goal of hopefully installing flashing yellow arrows where applicable. I'll go to the next slide. And this application is a supplement to existing improvements. We're in the process of making other improvements at these traffic intersections, a lot for ADA, but some of them have to do with, we have a lot of pedestrian traffic as well. So audible PED countdowns, for example, along this whole corridor. We have 4 schools along this corridor, 3 public schools, and then 1 charter school, all within about 1/8 of a mile or right along the actual corridor. The corridor is getting busy. Everybody knows how busy South Ironwood going to Santan, Queen Creek, but we're talking mainly to the northern part here from around the US 60 up to north. We have a lot of infill development, multi-residential housing up on the north part of the city, up by Superstition Boulevard. We have a lot of commercial activity happening around the Apache Trail. So this corridor is just getting much more busy. As I mentioned, a lot of pedestrian traffic as well. And then also we're having those accidents, again, trying to figure out what's happening with those left turns. And we suspect as development continues, we have a master plan community to the south too. We just anticipate this corridor getting very busy real fast. So we hope to do more to address the safety along this corridor. So with that, I think that's it. I'll open it up to any questions. All right, well, easy enough. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Shane. Next, we have the city of Buckeye. And I believe John Willett was on his way, unless we have somebody else from the city of Buckeye virtually. Oh, I'm sorry. John is running a little bit behind. I'm sorry. Glenn, would you kindly lend your microphone? Thank you to Frank.
Traffic engineer is running a little behind, but he'll give the presentation. Thank you.
So you will be giving the presentation, or John will be?
Oh, no, John will.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll come back to this one. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Next, we will go to Gilbert. We have Aaron Pinkerton virtually to provide the first of 3 presentations. Aaron, you might want to pause in between each one, excuse me, each one to get any questions that there might be, but I'll let you go ahead.
Certainly, thank you, and good morning to everyone. As Margaret said, we have 3 different projects we're presenting on this morning. The first one is a Hawk. Actually, no, this is different order. Germanian Power Road. Go ahead and switch slides, please. So Germanian Power Road, it's one of our larger intersections coming up, and we get a lot of traffic from Santan and from Queen Creek coming up through Power. If anybody lives down that way, no, it's one of the major corridors up. So just looking at kind of improving, reconstructing if we go ahead and go to the next slide, I think it's easiest to, the visual kind of tells it. You can see on Germain on the east side comes in a little bit of a skew. And so our left turns are not aligned very well. So the big scope of this project is really kind of changing that, fixing Germain's, the east side of Germain to straighten that out. And then as we're in there, extending up some left turn lanes, making make sure all the left turn lanes have positive offset in each direction. And also improving a right turn lane and some right turn lanes in there to kind of just create the better flow for the intersection overall. But the biggest thing is getting those curbs on that east side, so the road's less of a skew coming in there. Sorry, jump back to the other slide. I know there's one fatality. I believe there's one fatality and two. I guess there's two fatalities and two serious injuries in the last 5 years on this one. And that is this one in a nutshell. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next. So Higley Road and Guadalupe Road is kind of a similar situation. Go and jump to the next slide. In this one, we're doing more just improving the positive offsets once again in all four direction. A couple of ADA ramps need some improvement, and then adding a southbound right turn lane to help us in that overall flow. In this case, we had one fatality. Kind of see here, we're looking at improving a little the positive left turn offset. There were some kind of carrots, but they're not. That was done with the original construction back then when it was put in. Once again we didn't realize these predecessors the value of a true positive offset. So this project once again, and that shows primarily just improving the medians to get the positive offset, and then a southbound right turn lane. Any questions? Okay. Move on to the last one. So this one is a pedestrian hybrid beacon. It's actually we'll be putting in 2 beacons. If we can go ahead and jump to we'll go into the third slide real quick. So you can kind of see here where we have the median across the road, and there was markings on the sidewalk, and we moved to a sign saying, hey, use the intersection. It's about an average of 500 feet. The one is, I want to say, about 480, and the other one's about 520. Unfortunately, we still, even with these less incentive crossing here and encouraging people to do the intersection, we still had a fatality of someone crossing here to using the trail system. So taking that into account, that it's not effective in this case, to encourage people to go to the signal, we've decided to go ahead and put 2 hawks here. The one really doesn't, since it doesn't lead you anywhere, the first little island triangle, we felt like we needed to link these 2 together. If we're going to put in a hawk, we need to put in both of them. The fatality was at the southern crossing on Warner Road. So it would involve removing the median there, staging a crossing. Additionally, we're planning on, with adding the hawk, trying to straighten out the skew of the crossing. Right now, if they follow per crossing, one of the crossings is 170 feet, whereas across the diagonal, whereas we were able to make it to a true 90. I don't think we'll be able to make it all the way to a 90, but a true 90 will be 70 feet. So that northern one is currently 170 feet to cross. So bringing in the hawk will also allow us to tighten that up a little bit and bring them to 90s and do a little sidewalk to bridge it all together. Any questions? Appreciate your time. We need to jump back on to the next person.
Thanks, Aaron. We do have John Willett now. Do you want to? We can go back to Buckeye.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry I was late. I had to make another presentation this morning and that ran long. So this is an intersection of Rainbow Road and Sundance Parkway in Buckeye. We had submitted an HSIP several years ago That didn't score well because we didn't have a fatality. And when I had to go back to management and say, be honest, guys, we're not going to compete well with other agencies, but a fatality. Well, unfortunately, we had one at this intersection. The unique thing about this intersection is to the east, Sundance Parkway did not continue through because there was a piece of a subdivision that hadn't been developed. So when we looked at our crash data, I guess I should just follow this right here. Sorry. The intersection's Rainbow Road and Sundance Parkway. We're looking for a traffic signal to be designed. Going back to our crash data in 18, 19, 20, 21, we had about one crash a year. I happened to be out at another school one day looking at something and talking to one of the police officers, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we just never had another crash at this little intersection. It's our 7th in 9 months." And I was like, "What?" And a fatality. I'm like, what's going on? So I went out and looked at it. Not a site visibility problem at all. I mean, there's plenty of site distance. I had our city engineer look at it, had other staff look at it. Last fall, when there was an LASS call for projects, I submitted, worked with Margaret, and we had it studied. They came out and looked at it and said, yeah, there's not a site visibility problem at all, but there are a lot of crashes. And only thing we could surmise is when the subdivision completed the road for about quarter mile, it allowed people farther to the east of this location about the Rainbow alignment, which is the mile, to now continue on this road, cross Rainbow, and go to our commercial corridor. I guess the next slide might show a little better. Cross this intersection going from the right side to the left side. Cross this intersection, the road east-west curves and goes north and crosses Yuma Road and hits our commercial core. I thought maybe the students on the west side of Rainbow were crossing here, or the parents take them to the elementary school that was on the other side of the road that got completed. But it turns out this road is the boundary between schools. I'm like, well, that wasn't the problem. Only thing we figured out is people are just not paying attention. The speed limit is only 45 on Rainbow, 35 or 30 on Sundance. So shortly after I submitted this for the LASS application, I had a meeting and I drove down this road and I made the turn off of Yuma Road, which is our major east-west street, just a quarter mile north of this. I turned, flashing lights. I go, "Are you kidding me? We got another crash?" So I stopped and talked to the officer and I said, "What happened?" And they go, "A car was going northbound, a truck, a little mini delivery truck. Person was going west. And when the truck cleared, they gunned it to shoot across the intersection and never saw the person in the left turn lane, making a northbound left and hit them." And that's the majority of the crashes. So the LASS study we did looked at this and said, yeah, it's a lot of people crossing the road. That's the collisions. Doesn't quite meet an all-way stop today. It's close, but not quite there. We had the LAS study look at all the future traffic that's going to come from the south. We have some subdivisions being approved. They're going to start turning dirt and adding more traffic to Rainbow. So the north-south traffic is going to get higher. And so the LASS recommended a traffic signal. The BC ratio is 13.5. And that's what we're asking for, is a traffic signal. All the curb and gutter improvements are in. It's just a matter of just plopping a signal. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I can answer questions or talk some more, but I know we have a lot of these to get through. So
just to make a quick clarification, if I may, John and Mr. Chair, for some of you that are new to the committee or haven't heard of this before, the local agency safety studies that John referred to or LASS is kind of a subset program that we have. It's basically just the road safety assessments, but that particular program is set aside to be a little bit more flexible to some immediate needs of our member agencies. So.
This is Michelle Beckley from City of Tempe. For this location, does it meet signal warrants through the crash history?
yes.
Okay,
So met it through the crash history, and it also meets it through the volumes.
thanks.
But I'll rephrase it, with their projected volumes that are
Okay.
coming with the stuff.
This is Sam Taylor, City Scottsdale. I think on the second slide, it said that there are 27 serious injury crashes or suspected serious injury? Is that,
If you go back, it's actually in the slide that was just up.
or the first slide? Oh, yeah, right down there.
Oh,
Is
at the
that
bottom. Okay, yeah.
That they're all serious injury for 26?
They were pretty severe sideswipe and ankle crashes. Yep.
Okay.
One of the first things we would do is if we know a signal is going to come in, the MUTCD does allow us to put an all-way stop in the anticipation of the signal. So that's one of the things we're going to do fairly quickly is put an all-way stop. And hopefully that at least helps until the traffic signal can get installed. So. Any other questions?
Hearing none. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So we can skip ahead now to Glendale, slide 27, Mohammed. There you go.
Okay, the first one is the citywide design, the implementation of the flashing yellow arrow at 11 intersection. Go ahead, next. Okay. As you can see, just to give members some background, back in 2018 or 2019, the city of Glendale put in for an HSIP project. That one was called Phase 3, Flashing Yellow Arrow Phase 3. However, the first time we were going to bid the project, we had a $2.8 million budget, and we were told that the 21 intersections would not be covered through that. So we reduced the scope to 15 intersections, and once we reduced that scope to 15 intersections, ADOT bid out the project, and it came in at 4.1 million, which is 1.4 million over the budgeted amount. So we reduced that further, and now we're getting ready to put out Phase 3, and basically the remaining intersections, which are the 11 intersections that you see up there, are what we were requesting supplemental funding for. So the benefit to cost ratio up for this project is at about 11.7 to 1. So next. So as I was stating, this project augments what the intersections that were left out in Phase 3, and then Phase 4 of the project itself. Like I said, there was no way for us to anticipate the inflation cost that happened back in 22. So this project, when we talked with ADOT, they thought it would be also a candidate for us to go ahead and put it in for supplemental funding. So this will address 4 fatal crashes and 21 serious injury crashes over the past 4 or 5 years. Sorry. Any questions on this one? Okay. And we'll go to the next one. This project here is our second project on the list that we sent, and it's for the scope, design, and installation of medium barrier. This is a segment on Northern Parkway. This is a segment on Northern Parkway between 143rd Avenue to Dysart. And just for those that are not familiar, this is in West Glendale by Luke Air Force Base. We had an RSP funded project that went from the 303 to Northern, 303 to 143rd, and then the county had one from Dysart going east. So there is a segment there that did not have cable barrier, and I've been looking for funding because I feel that this is a liability when you have cable barrier on both sides, and there's one segment in the middle, even though it is a wide median through there. So this is, like I said, our second priority, and the benefit to cost ratio on this one is 5.8 to 1. Luckily, there's, there has been one fatal in the area. I'm not gonna sit down and say it was a crossover because I don't believe it was, but we, since I've installed that median, when I say the city of Glendale installed that median barrier, we have had numerous hits on that barrier. It's been very costly from a maintenance perspective, but I want to, deep inside, I'm like, well, at least those people haven't crossed over. The challenging thing is this is a freeway type facility. And it connects to Loop 303, even though the posted speed limit is 55, we have people exceeding. I mean, if you drive 55 there, you are gonna get some gestures towards you just because, like I said, people go through there. I mean, and I know this firsthand because I'm driving a city vehicle adhering to the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I'm telling you, there are people passing me like I'm walking out there. So, any questions? Okay, and I believe I went through all those. The only thing here is, we in FY23 we've had 2 hits. FY24 we've had 6 hits, and we've had other numerous hits on the cable barrier itself. So, all right, next one. The next one is installing dilemma zone detection on Camelback Road. And so this is for the design, scope design and installation of that, the advanced dilemma. The challenging part, let's go to the next slide, please, Muhammad. And this is looking at all the intersection listed up there, basically within the city of Glendale. The challenging part about the Camelback corridor is the city of Glendale owns and maintains all of Camelback Road except the portion on the south side of the south curb line, where that's where City of Phoenix comes in. We have several areas where we have some frontage roads in that area. So and there have been numerous crashes along this corridor. And I know the number 2, I believe it was the number 2 intersection in this year's list is 51st Avenue and Camelback. So we, this in terms of crashes, this is a challenging corridor, and it's in one of the poor neighborhoods in the Glendale area. So this is going to be the city's 3rd priority, but we're hoping, like I said, to get this dilemma zone that will help hopefully address some of the red light running type of crashes that are on the corridor. As you see there, the benefit to cost is 4.8 to 1. Next. So as I stated there, the project will address the crashes that can be high speed and high severity just because the nature of the corridor. And we've had along that corridor 6 fatal crashes, 17 serious injury over the past 5 years. So any questions, comments? All righty, then I will yield the floor.
Thank you, Tony. Next up, we have the City of Maricopa. Scott Nodes is here for the presentation.
Good morning. The city of Maricopa is one of the fastest growing cities in the state. And so we reviewed the crashes for the last 5 years, and we have identified numerous arterial roads, 8 of them: Honeycutt, White and Parker, Maricopa Casa Grande Highway, John Wayne Parkway, which is better known as State Route 347, Porter Road, Smith Hankey Road, which is better known as State Route 238, Boland Road, and Edison Road. So we identified speeding as an issue along these particular arterial roads. And we found that there were 44 crashes that involved hundreds of crashes, but of those hundreds, 13 were fatal crashes and 31 were serious injury crashes. And in all those cases of this subset, speeding was identified in the police crash report as a contributing factor for the crash. In addition, I get input from our residents, and speeding is one of the most common concerns of our residents. The FHWA has identified the speed feedback signs as can be effective in reducing the mean and 85th percentile speeds. And it's also even more effective if you combine that with enforcement. So enforcement's not part of this proposal, but we will do enforcement as part of the project if it gets approved. So we've come up with based on the crash modification factors, a benefit cost ratio almost 30-1, and we're requesting about 990,000 to put speed feedback signs on these 8 arterial corridors. The corridors on eight locations within the city.
Any questions for Mr. Nodes?
Scott, this is Mazen Muradovich, Maricopa County. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Scott, your benefit to cost ratio value that you've actually established, pretty impressive. Is that based on a combined CRFs that's including all locations?
So that would be for the locations that the 44 crashes, and we use national standards, the crash modification factor. So we're not expecting to reduce every crash of these. It's just a small percentage of these will be reduced. And using national standards to come up with the benefit cost ratio.
Right. So you think the reason for this high BC ratio is to do with the number of crashes accumulated during the last 5 years for those locations?
It's the high number of fatal crashes, as it's mentioned here. Okay. There's 13 fatal crashes. So that's what really pumps up the number.
Yeah, but you're only using one countermeasure, right? Which is the speed signs, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, Mr. Torres, but can you get a microphone so those attending virtually can hear you?
Hi, Jesse Torres with GOHS. How are you calculating your, or I guess, what's the balance between enforcement and these speed feedback signs? And what's the enforcement look like now? What's your STEP program look like with the PD?
Generally, they have certain corridors that they go out on a regular basis, and then also if staff request them to go out, they'll also enforce those corridors, and also if residents request additional enforcement. Our police department also has portable speed feedback signs that they have a few of those that they'll also put out in various corridors if requested.
But I mean, how are you, I guess I didn't pose that question well. How are you measuring the balance between your speed reduction sign or speed feedback signs to reduce the speed, thus the fatalities, and without enforcement, how are you gauging the amount of enforcement that you will need to impact behavior?
It's based on national standards.
And that, what is that?
The national standards, they have a crash modification factors. When you do something on a global basis in a city or a community, they run the numbers based on data they've collected. And so that's how they've come up with their numbers. And we use the national standards.
Wait, okay, again, a bad question. I understand that, but are you equipped to have the PD meet those standards? Because I hear from my office and the numbers that I see through my office that enforcement is down all over for speed or for traffic. So is your PD equipped to do that?
Well, but once again, this request is not for our PD. This is a request just for the speed modification sign, for the speed feedback signs. What I'm saying is you get additional benefit if you have police. And I've already talked to them. They will, if we get funding, they will also go out there and support where we put these signs as additional enforcement.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, Scott, we may want to take a look at your application again before we submit it to ADOT. We saw the benefit cost at 5.6 to 1. So let's coordinate and take a look at that before it gets submitted to ADOT.
Okay, yeah, I know we also work with a consultant, and anyway, yes, we'll look at it again.
Okay, I'll make sure and work with you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so without any further questions.
Good morning, everyone. Apologies, I'm going to keep my camera off.
Okay, go ahead, Carl.
Oh, sorry, I've been having some unstable aspects through this meeting, so I'm going to keep my camera off, so hopefully that fixes that. So Phoenix has two projects today. Our first project that we're going to talk about is a hawk proposed at Thomas Road and 26th Street. You can go to the next slide. Was there one in between here? I think we skipped a slide. Oh, never mind. So this project here is on 26th Road and Thomas. It's one of our higher hawk locations based on collisions aspects. So we've had a fair amount of internal funding that's done a lot of hawk stuff over the last couple of years.
Are you still there?
We're going to hit 100 hawks, and we've done quite a bit in the several last years. So again here, say that again.
Go ahead. There's a little bit of a delay. Go ahead.
Okay. So this location here is one that has some recent collisions at some unfortunately fatal locations. So it's a hawk location that we want to put in. It ranked out as kind of our highest in a benefit cost aspects with a 13 to 1 benefit cost for this location here. So, and is there another slide to this project? Okay, yeah, so this here shows a little bit closer to the area aspect to it. It is in between our signals aspects, so it is a location that typically we do find that a hawk helps. And so that with the project. So any questions regarding this project from anyone?
I'm hearing none, Carl, unless, I don't know if we can tell if people are raising their hands on virtually. Nope. Okay. All right. Go ahead and move on to the next presentation. Carl?
Yes. Okay, so this project here is for 3 traffic signals. So to modernize this traffic signal, one at Cave Creek and Sweetwater, one at 40th Street and Cactus Road, and one at 43rd Avenue and Cactus Road. You can go to the next slide. So this project here, like I said, looks at 3 different intersections. So we've had with our road safety action plan, that's been a recent thing. We've produced a high injury network throughout our city. We've been working internally on a lot of these projects. We just recently updated our HIN. And with that update, these are some locations that have popped up in our more recent that we don't have anything planned or taking place on. And so they rank very high based on our benefit cost aspects and fair amount of fatal and serious at these intersections. So overall, the plan is to upgrade the traffic signals. With the upgraded traffic signal, we'll have signal visibility improvements. We add the flashing yellow arrow. There's some pedestrian signal upgrades to it, some lighting aspects to it. And of course, the curb ramps with the ADA get upgraded as well. You can go to the next slide here. So here's more detail on the different collisions itself. So we ended up doing a cost benefit ratio for each one, and each one of them ranks over 10. The highest one is Sweetwater and Cave Creek. We've had a couple more, 5 fatalities actually took place in that location. So it's up at 19 nearly with, the benefit cost. One of the key factors is nearly 44% of the collisions were really happening at night, which was a bit surprising, especially the fatal and serious aspects. So with our street lighting, we'll increase the illumination throughout the intersection as well. So, any questions regarding this project?
I'm not seeing any here in the room. Any online? All right, thank you, Carl.
Thank you all.
All right, next we have Tara Harmon attending virtually to present on the Thompson Road and Mountain Vista Boulevard HSIP project.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Can we move to the next slide, please? This is the Thompson Road and Mountain Vista Boulevard project. We are seeking scoping, design, construction, administration, and construction of a traffic signal installation. It is located at the intersection of Thompson Road and Mountain Vista Boulevard, which are both arterials, 5-lane arterials that connect to Hunt Highway, which is a major north-south corridor throughout the Santan Valley area in Pinal County. The project does have a cost benefit of 4.7 to 1. Move on to the next slide, please. In this location, we've had one fatality and 1 serious injury in the past 5 years. Thompson Road currently has an ADT of about 12,000 vehicles per day and is expected to increase to 19,000 by 2025. This location is a high-risk area in the Santan Valley. It's mainly driven by development, both residential and commercial. The commercial being the proximity to the Hunt Highway. It continues to flourish, and it identifies a need for improved pedestrian facilities as well. We have received well over 30 requests from citizens in this location for a traffic signal, and the signal is warranted. And I believe that's all I have, unless there's questions.
Thanks, Tara. Any questions for Tara? No? Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Queen Creek. I believe Mohammed Youssef is virtual.
Hi, this is Janet Martin. No, I'll be presenting for Mohammed this morning.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
You bet. By way of introduction, again, I'm Janet Martin. I'm the Transportation Operations Manager here at Queen Creek. We are requesting HSIP funds to install streetlights on an unlit corridor along Gary Road. Our estimated project cost is $1.3 million. Our proposal includes an analysis of the past 5 years of crash data, where we looked at fatal and serious injury crashes that occurred under unlit conditions, which we feel can be effectively mitigated with a proven safety countermeasure, which is street lighting. Gary Road is an arterial road. No, actually go back a slide, Margaret. I'm sorry. Gary Road's an arterial road on the eastern edge of Queen Creek. It's between Combs and Empire Road. It's located on the west side in Maricopa County and on the east side in Pinal County. It was constructed by another agency, and streetlights were not included as part of those improvements. So we recognize that we need to bring that up to the existing adopted town standards. So our project goal is to enhance nighttime visibility and safety. Next slide. We discovered, unfortunately, that there was a fatal pedestrian crash that occurred in dark conditions when a pedestrian attempted to cross Gary at the Charbray Drive intersection early in the morning. That's about halfway. This you can see on the slide, it spans 4,000 feet. It's about in the center. that highlights the need for better lighting along this corridor. We have a school that's at the intersection of Empire and Gary. It's a charter school. We have a Queen Creek Unified School District school on Grange in Gary. We have new apartments on the north section of the road, and we have a commercial planned facility on both the north corner and the south corner. So we're seeing already seeing an uptick in the number of bicyclists and pedestrians in that area. With the installation of street lights and using the crash reduction factor of 37% from the clearinghouse, we project a reduction in fatal and serious crashes over the next 5 years. So this improvement promises to enhance safety and to reduce the likelihood of future bicycle and pedestrian related incidents. Are there any questions?
Hi, this is Raj from City of Avondale. I see that there's a residential development on both sides of this Gary Road. I was wondering why the city did not require the developers to provide the street lights as part of their half street improvements.
We recently annexed the area, and the entity that controlled that corridor previously does not require streetlights.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for consideration. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next we have Scottsdale. I believe Helene Dominguez is going to be providing the presentation for Scottsdale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Transportation and Safety Committee. My name is Helene Dominguez. I am a traffic engineer at the City of Scottsdale, and I am presenting today our request for funding for intersection safety improvements at the intersection of Goldwater Boulevard and Camelback Road. Next slide. The safety improvements that we're requesting funding for at this location are to improve the traffic signal visibility and to eliminate the negative left turn offset on Camelback Road. We'll be improving traffic signal visibility by replacing the existing traffic signal infrastructure at the intersection. This includes new poles, mast arms, and signal heads. And the elimination of the negative left turn offset will be done by the removal or modification of the median currently present along Camelback Road. The total project cost came out to about 1.7 million, and we're requesting about 1.4 million in HSIP funding. We're requesting funding for the scoping and the construction portions of this project. Design will be 100% locally funded and is intended to be done in-house. Next slide, please. So this intersection is in the border of Old Town Scottsdale, which is a major tourist hub and commercial shopping center for the city of Scottsdale. Camelback Road is a major east-west corridor that services transit, and Goldwater Boulevard is a part of a couplet system that we have running along the edges of Old Town Scottsdale that's used heavily by vehicles attempting to bypass Scottsdale Road as it runs through Old Town Scottsdale. So in the past 5 years, there was 1 fatal and 3 serious injury crashes at this intersection. And this came out to a benefit cost ratio of 3.1. If there's any questions, I'll take them at this time.
Yes, just wondering, did you guys explore the protector left and all around? I mean, like, I know you guys have the north-south corridor, it looks like your dual left turn lanes, but eastbound, westbound, I see a single left turn lane. Is it necessary to correct that positive offset? Why not we just go with the protector left turn?
This is Sam Taylor with City of Scottsdale. We have looked at that. We don't think it would warrant by our standards to go protected only. So we'd like to adjust the offset first and see if that addresses the issue.
Any other questions for Helene? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last but definitely not least, we have Michelle Beckley here in person with the City of Tempe to provide the presentation on their HSIP project.
Thank you, Margaret. Mr. Chair, members of the MAG Safety Committee. I'm Michelle Beckley with City of Tempe, presenting our HSIP application for 4 intersections. The project focuses on left turn phasing improvements along with additional signal visibility improvements. Next slide, please. So our 4 locations are Kyrene and Elliott, Southern and College, Rural and Minton, Mill and Hermosa. This is one arterial as A, and the others are arterial collectors. This application is for scoping, design, and construction. And these locations were identified through a network screening process. We started with all of our signalized intersections to identify those with the highest number of fatal and serious injury left turn crashes. We excluded any of the signals that already have protected only left turn phasing. And then we did kind of a deeper look to see the direction of the crashes to make sure they were good candidates. So these are our top 4 highest. And we have a funding request of just under 3.8 million. This addresses 9 crashes total, 3 fatal and 6 serious injury. Next slide, please. So you have an aerial of all the intersections. The first in the top left corner is the arterial of Elliott and Kyrene. So the request and the scope of construction, because of the infrastructure that can't support the left turn phasing improvements in the current condition, it would involve rebuild of the signal poles and the mast arms. For the 3 locations that are arterial collector, we're proposing to upgrade from permitted to flashing yellow arrow on the major only. And then at the arterial, all approaches that currently operate as protected permitted will go to protected only. In that case as well, with the length of the existing mast arms, those require new signal poles and mast arms. A couple of unique characteristics. Some have very short mast arms. Some have primary overhead, 1 per 3 lanes that are out there. We have a little bit of skew going on at one of the intersections, which we think is a factor. And most notably, we have the Union Pacific rail grade crossing at Elliott and Kyrene that crosses on a diagonal there. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Michelle at Tempe? Not seeing any here in the room. Do we have any virtually? Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Everybody did really well staying under 5 minutes. Want to thank everybody for their participation. Just some highlight the schedule again, our timeline. Of course, we're here today on the 23rd of April for the project presentations. We also have an action item. A lot of the applications are in really good shape, I would say, but there's just a few that we probably need to take another quick look at. The other thing that I know ADOT is going to want to see is very detailed cost estimate sheets for, especially things like the traffic signal improvement type projects that have also included some geometry, whether they include the geometry or not. So there's a couple of cost estimates that might need to be kind of beefed up quite a bit before we get those to ADOT. So everybody, if you could take another look at your applications and see if there's places that you need to improve that or need to make some changes or some edits. It is really important that we have your final applications in. We need both the Excel version as well as the PDF version by 10 a.m. on May 3rd. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of applications, so MAG staff has to process those and prepare them to be posted on the webpage. Once they are posted on the webpage, I notify Larry Talley at ADOT that they're available. And that's how we submit them to ADOT. So moving forward from that, there'll be an initial ranking of projects on May 31st. Then on August 19th, the approved projects will start initiation of the paperwork. Let me move back just a little bit. Going after April 23rd. So April 25th, this item, if recommended by this committee, will go to the Transportation Review Committee. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it'll go to policy committees for that scoping phase to be placed into the TIP. So after the scoping phase, we can also amend the TIP. So if during that scoping phase, something happens and there's a lower benefit cost ratio, or for whatever reason, ADOT has a decision that it's not eligible for whatever reason, we can do a MAG TIP amendment. But again, it's just really important to get that scoping phase into the TIP at this time. So, and then around about the 18th of December, the scoping should be complete. Larry, do you have anything to add, or have I misrepresented anything?
No, Margaret. Presentations were very good. I do have a lot of questions, but I don't want to tie up the whole group. Once we get the applications, we'll take a good look at them. I just ask for those agencies that are doing the flashing yellow arrows, please check with your traffic signals groups to make sure that your controllers can take the modifications without having to replace the controllers. Or if you have to replace the controllers, please make sure you included that in your application. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Larry. I think that concludes my portion of the presentations, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Herrera. Any further questions or discussions from members? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion for recommendation of for recommending approval of the agenda item number 5? Somebody wants to make a motion?
I can read it. Aaron Pinker with Town of Gilbert. I recommend approval of the listing of the fiscal year FY 2025, 2027, and 2028 Highway Safety Improvement Program project applications to be submitted to ADOT for eligibility determination and amendments to the FY 2022 to 2025 MAG Transportation Improvement Program TIP Regional Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Investment Plan and Momentum 2050 MAG Regional Transportation Plan.
So Keith Janaski, City of Litchfield Park. I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Aaron Pinkerton with City of Gilbert and a second by Keith. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their camera and unmuting their audio. We need to see faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their camera, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call those virtual participant who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your camera on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Okay. Members, please leave your camera on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Mr. Chair, I think we have all the members turning on their cameras for this roll call vote.
Okay. The requested action then I guess does pass. We will proceed on to item number 6. Margaret, how are we doing on time in terms of
It's 11:11, Mr. Chair, so it's at your discretion.
okay, I'm going to, since it's at my discretion, I'm going to defer to the reports by committee members. I'll defer that to the May meeting. The request for future agenda items, item number 7 is for information. Do any members of the Transportation Safety Committee have topics or issues of interest that they would like to have considered at future meetings? Please indicate by unmuting to be recognized. You can also send in requests to Margaret Herrera or myself via email. Are there any items? All righty, hearing none, then the next meeting of the Transportation Safety Committee will be a special meeting held at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, May 28th. Attendance in person is encouraged in the MAG second floor Ironwood room. Virtual options will be available. Since this is a informational item, no action will be taken. And I will go ahead and it is now 11:12. And I will bring this meeting to, or I'll adjourn this meeting at this point.
Thank you, everyone. Just to note a quick correction, the May meeting is a regular meeting, not a special meeting, so that was my fault. Thank you, Tony, and thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.